After I politely mentioned a safety hazard, my factory supervisor scoffed, "If you're too scared to work like a man, maybe you should stay home and bake cookies." The whole crew laughed as I swallowed my anger. I reported the hazard anonymously to Osha, and 2 weeks later, watching him get hauled out during a full-blown safety raid was better than any apology he could have faked. I've worked factory jobs most of my adult life. I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I know how to keep my head down, get the job done, and go home with all my fingers. That's the only goal most of us have in places like this. I started at Lindell Industrial Fabrication in Davenport, Iowa last spring. The pay was decent. Not great, but good enough to cover the bills. My wife was working part-time since we couldn't afford full-time daycare for both our kids, so I needed something steady, even if it meant long shifts and busted knuckles. The factory ran hot. Steel and sparks everywhere. You learn fast to stay sharp or get hurt. The guy in charge of our floor, Rick, was a bitter old man with nicotine fingers and a permanent scowl. He'd been with the company for decades and walked around like he owned it. If your boots weren't tied right, if your sleeves were rolled wrong, he'd have something to say. Always loud, always acting like he was trying to put on a show for whoever was watching. 2 weeks in, I noticed something bad. There was this older hydraulic press, 6-ton, ran off a pump setup tucked behind it. The pressure hose coming off the pump was cracked. Not just worn out. It had a deep split, the kind that sprays when the pressure's up. I saw it happen when Marco ran it. A line of fluid hissed out near his leg. He jumped back fast, but if he hadn't noticed it, he could have been in the hospital. That kind of pressure? It'll cut through your skin. People have lost limbs that way. I told Rick right after morning stretch. I said, "Hey, the hose on press 3 is leaking. I don't think it's safe." He looked up from his clipboard, raised one eyebrow like I'd insulted his intelligence. "It's just a little leak. You scared of getting your hands dirty?" I kept my tone even. "No, it's not about dirt. That thing could blow. It's a safety risk." That's when he smiled, this smug, shit-eating grin, and turned to the guys standing nearby. "You hear this?" he said, loud as hell. "If you're too scared to work like a man, maybe you should stay home and bake cookies." The whole shop cracked up. A few guys looked uncomfortable, but nobody said a word. I just stood there, humiliated. I felt heat rush into my ears. Not because I was embarrassed, but because I wanted to swing on him right then. I didn't. I just walked off and kept working. Didn't say another word to him all day. But I didn't forget it. That night, after I got the kids to bed, I sat at the kitchen table and started looking into OSHA reporting. I'd never done it before. It was easier than I expected. Just a few clicks, fill in what you saw, explain what happened. I left my name off it, just said I was a worker at the plant and listed the exact issue. The leaking hose, the lack of action, the way safety issues were mocked or ignored. I didn't expect much. I figured maybe someone would call the company and they'd fake fixing it. I mostly did it so I could sleep better. If someone got hurt and I'd said nothing, I wouldn't be able to live with myself. I thought nothing would come of it. Then, 2 weeks later, everything changed. That morning was like any other. Loud machines, grease on everything, guys swapping stories about their weekends. Break was at 9:15. I was drinking bad coffee and standing by the back roll-up door when I saw a couple SUVs and a sedan pull into the lot. I didn't think much of it at first. Then I noticed the government plates. They came in fast. 4 inspectors. 2 in vests. Clipboards, badges, everything. Someone near me muttered, "Shit. OSHA." Suddenly, the whole floor changed. People started putting out cigarettes, cleaning up, switching off machines. Rick came stomping out of his office like a pissed-off bulldog. Tried to act like he was in control. Started giving orders, yelling for people to act normal. They didn't talk to us right away. First, they asked Rick a bunch of questions. Then they started walking the floor, taking photos, writing notes. One of the inspectors stopped in front of press 3. He crouched, took a photo of the hose, then pointed to it while shaking his head. He didn't even bother hiding how bad it was. They spent hours going over everything. All of us were tense. Nobody knew who reported it, but a few guys looked around like they were trying to figure it out. Then it happened. One of the lead inspectors called Rick over, handed him something, maybe a report or citation, and then told him to come with them. He looked pissed, red-faced, but he didn't argue. Just followed them out like a kicked dog. The shop floor went dead quiet. No machines. No talking. Just silence. No one made eye contact. It felt like something heavy had dropped over the whole place. That afternoon, corporate sent an email to every employee saying there'd be mandatory training starting the next week. They were restructuring safety policies. Rick's name wasn't in it. No, thanks for your service, nothing. Just gone. In the weeks that followed, a lot changed. That press got a brand new hose and pump. They added safety signage and gave us all updated PPE. The floor manager's office stayed empty for a while. Eventually, they brought in someone from another branch. People still don't know who made the report. I kept my mouth shut. But I've noticed the looks. The newer guys don't care. But the ones who were there that day? A few of them give me these sideways glances, like they've figured it out. I don't care. Rick mocked me in front of everyone. Called me soft. Tried to humiliate me because I spoke up about something that could have maimed someone. Maybe killed them. Now he's out. The shop's safer. And every time I walk past that press, I remember the way he looked walking out with the inspectors. All that fake power gone in an instant. He thought he was untouchable. He thought wrong. A week after Rick was gone, things were quiet. Too quiet. Nobody said his name, and people acted like he never existed. But you could feel the tension still hanging in the air. Every time the new temp supervisor walked by, guys straightened up like they were expecting a pop quiz. Then, one Thursday after lunch, I found a note in my locker. Just a scrap of paper. No name on it. Just 6 words written in pencil: snitches get people hurt. Watch yourself. I read it twice. My stomach dropped. At first, I thought maybe it was a joke. Some idiot trying to be funny. But then I noticed something else. My lock didn't click right when I closed it again. Someone had definitely messed with it. Someone got into my locker without breaking it open. I didn't tell anyone that day. I went home, locked the doors, and sat in the dark kitchen for an hour. My wife could tell something was wrong. I told her the basics. Just that there was tension at work and someone was trying to stir things up. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, "If someone threatens you again, I want you to quit. I don't care how much we need the money. You come home safe, that's all that matters." I didn't want to leave the job. I'd worked too damn hard, and I hadn't done anything wrong. If I quit, it would be like letting Rick win after all. So I promised her I'd be careful, but I wasn't going anywhere. The next day, things got worse. One of the forklifts was left running in the aisle next to my workbench. Nobody in it. No horn. Just sitting there idling, halfway out from the loading dock, right where I usually walk when I grab materials. If I hadn't been paying attention, I might have walked straight into it. That felt like more than just a mistake. I reported it to the new supervisor, Marcia. She took it seriously. Pulled the security footage. But here's the kicker. Right as she went to view the tape from that part of the floor, the camera feed from that day was missing. Just that hour. The rest of the day was fine. That's when I realized, someone still loyal to Rick was messing with me. And they weren't done. The following Monday, my tool cart was missing when I came in. Not moved. Gone. I checked every aisle, every corner of the floor. Nobody saw anything. My name was etched into the side. Somebody had to have taken it deliberately. I was starting to lose it. At break, I confronted a guy named Cal. Big dude, shaved head, quiet most of the time. But I'd seen the way he laughed the loudest when Rick mocked me. I'd seen the way he looked at me during the Osha raid. I walked right up to him in the break room. I didn't yell. I just asked straight out, "Did you take my cart?" He looked at me, chewed his sandwich for a second, then said, "Why would I touch your stuff, Cookie Man?" That was it. I saw red. I shoved the table so hard it hit his chest, sandwich flew to the floor. People jumped back. Cal stood up, but I was already walking out. I didn't want to lose my job, but I was damn close to swinging. That afternoon, HR called me in. Said there were tensions on the floor and they wanted to make sure I was okay to continue working in this environment. I told them flat out, "You're worried about me? I'm the one getting threatened, having my stuff taken, nearly run down by a damn forklift. What are you doing about that?" They didn't have much of an answer. But something must have clicked. Because a few days later, a regional safety officer showed up again, unannounced. Walked around, asked a few questions. Then we had another mandatory meeting. No explanation, just zero tolerance for harassment and retaliation. Still, I didn't feel safe. I started carrying a pocket recorder. Just in case. That's when I found out something huge. One of the newer guys, Devin, barely 22, maybe, pulled me aside one morning when we were clocking in. "Hey," he said, voice low. "I saw Cal and this other guy, Terry, messing with the camera system in the back room. Night shift. They were laughing about some leak getting what he deserves." I stared at him. "You sure?" He nodded. "I didn't know what they meant until I heard people saying you were the reason Osha showed up." There it was. I wasn't just being paranoid. This was real. Now I had names. Cal, Terry. Maybe more. And I wasn't about to let them run me off. I started watching everything after that. Who talked to who? Who took breaks together? Who looked away when I walked by? It wasn't just Cal and Terry. There was a small group, maybe 4 or 5 guys, who'd been tight with Rick. They all used to drink together after shifts at a dive bar down on Rockingham Road. I never hung out with them, but I knew the type. The ones who treated the floor like their territory, who thought loyalty to a bad boss made them strong. Now that Rick was gone, they were looking for someone to blame. I was that someone. But I wasn't alone. Devin kept feeding me info. Quiet, off to the side. He said he didn't want trouble, but he hated what they were doing. His uncle lost an eye in a factory accident years ago. He understood what was at stake. Then something unexpected happened. Marcia, the new supervisor, called me into her office. She closed the door, folded her hands, and said, "Off the record, do you know anything about the Osha report?" I froze. For a second, I thought I was screwed. But then she added, "I'm not here to punish anyone. I just want to know what we're dealing with. I've heard there's some backlash on the floor." I hesitated, then nodded. "It was me. I reported the press." She didn't look surprised. She just leaned back and let out a slow breath. "I figured," she said. "Thank you for being honest. I'm not supposed to say this, but that complaint saved someone." The inspectors found pressure inconsistencies across 3 machines. 2 were overdue for servicing by over a year. We're lucky nobody died. Then she paused. "But you're being targeted now, aren't you?" I nodded again. She didn't say much after that. Just told me to keep my head down and document everything. She said HR wouldn't be enough if things got worse. We might need to go higher. That same night, I got a text from a number I didn't know. "You think Marcia can protect you?" You're not as smart as you think. That did it. I went to the police the next morning and filed a harassment report. I brought the note from my locker, the mysterious text, and everything Devon had told me. I wasn't trying to press charges, yet, but I wanted it on record. In case things escalated. I thought that might scare them off. Instead, it lit a fire. The following Friday, someone slashed my rear tires in the parking lot. Not just deflated, slashed. Deep cuts. Clean, intentional. And conveniently, the security camera facing that side of the lot had gone offline again. That was the last straw. I called the Osha inspector who had come to the plant. Told her everything. I didn't hold back. The retaliation, the harassment, the sabotaged footage, the threats. I told her names. Cal, Terry. Even mentioned the group that drank at the bar. She didn't say much, but I could tell she was taking notes. 2 days later, a state investigator showed up at the plant. Not just for safety this time, for criminal interference and workplace retaliation. And then, everything cracked open. The Monday after the state investigator visited, things went from tense to explosive. Cal didn't show up for his shift. Neither did Terry. By lunch, word had spread fast, both had been suspended pending investigation. HR locked their badges and told them not to come back until further notice. The security team even walked through the break room with clipboards, pointing at cameras, making notes. Everyone was on edge. But it wasn't over. By Wednesday, subpoenas were delivered. The police were officially involved now. Tampering with safety equipment, destroying camera footage, and workplace harassment, those aren't just company problems. They're crimes. I didn't feel relief, not yet. Not until the real storm hit. The next week, Rick himself showed up at the plant gates. Not in uniform, just standing out by the road near the employee lot, smoking like he had nothing left to lose. I saw him from inside. His eyes found me through the fence. He didn't yell. Didn't try to rush me. But he smiled. That same smug grin from before. Except now, it looked hollow. Like a man with no job, no pension, and nothing but regret. Later, I found out he was being investigated for more than just safety violations. One of the older welders, Frank, came forward to say Rick used to take kickbacks from suppliers, cheap parts, no inspections. He kept the difference for himself. Thousands over the years. Probably more. Frank never said anything until now. Said he was scared. But after Rick got canned and the others started turning on each other, he decided he'd had enough. Within a month, charges were filed. Rick was arrested. Fraud. Tampering with federal safety equipment. Retaliation. And a pile of Osha fines big enough to bury a house. I watched it on the news. His mugshot was everywhere. The same guy who mocked me in front of everyone now had criminal investigation written under his name. But it didn't stop there. Cal and Terry? Turns out they didn't just mess with my locker and tires. Investigators found messages between them and Rick, text chains where they bragged about scaring the snitch. That was enough for the company to cut them loose. Fired. Banned from the plant. And the DA pushed for misdemeanor harassment charges. The others in their little group faded out quick. Quit or transferred. No one wanted to be tied to what happened. One guy tried to apologize to me in the parking lot, but I just walked past him. As for me? I stayed. But I changed. I stopped keeping quiet. I got certified in safety compliance. Took a night class at the community college. 6 months later, when Marcia transferred out, they offered me the supervisor job. I didn't take it to get even. But I still think about that day. The one where Rick called me soft. Where he mocked me in front of the whole floor. And I think about every person who laughed. Who stayed quiet. Who saw what was wrong and looked the other way. Yeah, I made mistakes too. I waited too long to speak up. I thought staying silent made me tough. It didn't. It made me part of the problem. I almost let fear keep me quiet. Almost. Now? They know who I am. And they know what happens when you laugh at someone who's just trying to keep people safe. I didn't need revenge. I just needed the truth to come out. And it did, loud, ugly, and permanent.